Hey VMers! This video will take you through the different aspects of a ZVM login screen and how to make customizations. Here's the default ZVM guest login screen. There are 4 major parts to the screen: the online message, the logo, the input, and the status areas. We'll go through how to create and customize each. I will use the draw logo exec and xedit macro $$DRWL$X. Though these tools aren't required to customize the screen, their use can decrease the number of formatting issues you might otherwise encounter. I'm currently in a second-level virtual machine or VM running CMS. The draw logo exec and xedit utility are both on my A disk accessible to my system. I have a parm disk defined as my Charlie Fox 0 to my maint user so I can VM link to it and apply all login screen changes dynamically before making it accessible to CP again. The same steps outlined in this video should apply to a first-level system. I have a few PF keys tied to commands we'll use throughout the video. You can see them in the description section. Let's VM link to the parm disk to make changes to the login screen files. If we navigate to the file mode returned by VM link, you can see the logo config file. I have no other files because I will be creating each from scratch. However, if there are any files you'd like to use for the login screen, make sure they're on your parm disk. A look at the logo config file shows the different statements for specifying customizations to each screen area. This file is where you will specify files for the online message, input, and logo areas. Conveniently, the status names are modified directly in this file. Since all configuration statements are commented out, the CP default screen is in effect. Let's customize the status area. First, VM link to your parm disk if you haven't already. I already have mine linked as R from the setup overview. Enter xedit logo config to find or write the status statement. The text for the different status options can be modified right in the logo config file, so there is no need to use any additional tools. Since the statement is commented out, the CP default is in use. I'm going to uncomment the statement and change running to flying. The single quotes will keep the text mixed case. Keep in mind, all strings except the not accepted string can be up to 8 characters. The not accepted string can be up to 12 characters. File the update. Now release the VM link, then make the files available to CP with the CP access command, and CP refresh to deploy the new logo config. In another 3270 session, undial if you need to, and then dial your first level user ID. You can now see the flying text in the status area. Issue CP release if you would like to continue customizing. You will see in the next few sections how to add color and other formatting to the screen areas. Unfortunately, there is no way to add any formatting to the status area. Let's customize the online message area. First, VM link the parm disk if you haven't already. Enter xedit logo config to find or add the online message statement. Currently, the CP default is in use since the statement is commented out. I'll uncomment the statement, and you can input a file to use. Type in the file name and the file type. It can be a file that already exists, or you can create a new one, but it must reside on your parm disk. In this case, I'll create a new file called outage message. File the update, enter draw logo outage message R, which will bring you into draw logo and create a new file for you. If you're creating a new file, press PF4 to specify this is an online message file. Otherwise, the exec should be able to guess the file type it's handling. But if it's incorrect, hit PF5, then PF9 to select the correct type. The online message can be up to 78 characters wide and 1 line long. Let's write a message to say there will be an outage this Friday. Let's also make this area white. Go to the Base Color menu. Color attributes from the Base Color menu will overwrite your text and take up space in the screen. The colors that have the U suffix mean unprotected, meaning the text on the deployed screen can be typed over. To add color, make sure your keyboard is in the Insert mode and add a space before your text for the attribute so you don't lose your message. You won't need to do this for the extended color attributes. To add white, I'll press PF2. Though the attribute takes up space, it will not be visible on the login screen. The color will occupy the screen starting at the line with the attribute and all lines below it until another color attribute is found. Press PF11 to test out our change. You can see the new white text here. There's a space before the message, but the color attribute is not visible. If you're not seeing your change, make sure the file is only 1 line long and 78 characters wide. File your update. Verify the output file information. You can change the name, type, or mode if you so choose. Then press Enter. Now, release the VM link. Make the parm disk accessible to CP. And refresh the logo config to deploy the new logo. In another 3270 session, undial if you need to, and dial your first level user ID. The online message area now has the outage information we added. Issue CP release if you'd like to continue customizing. Let's customize the input area. First, VM link your parm disk if you haven't already. Then enter xedit logo config to find or add your input area statement. The CP default is currently in use since the statement is commented out. I'll uncomment the statement and you can input your file name and file type of the file you'd like to use for your input area. This can be an existing file or a new file, but it must reside on your parm disk. In this case, I'll create a file called who input area. File the update, then enter draw logo who input area r to enter draw logo and create your new file. Press PF6 to specify this is an input area file. Otherwise, the exec should be able to understand the file. But if you notice it guessed wrong, press PF5 then PF9 to select the correct type. The input area can be up to 80 characters wide and 6 characters long. The file is a little more interesting, but extreme care must be taken when making changes or creating this file. I'll first insert 6 lines and skip a line. You'll see why later. Let's create the user ID input area. First, write your input text for the user ID. Before we add the user ID field, press PF5 to show the options menu. I'm going to go with an 8-character user ID length, so PF4 will put that into effect. Press PF4 again to go to the input menu. You can simply press PF2 to add the user ID field. There's no need for a space. The input attributes will add that for you. Next, add a password field. I'm going to skip another line. Write your input text for the password. Again, you don't need to add a space. I'm going to leave the password length as 8 characters, but use the main options menu like we did before to change the length if you so choose. Press PF4 to add the password field. Next, we'll add a command field. I'll write my text for the command field and press PF5 to add the field. Press PF3 to go back to the main menu and let's add some color. Press PF9 to go to the extended color menu. Add any colors you'd like to with the PF keys listed. For these attributes, you will not have to add a space for the character and they will not occupy any space on the screen. If you're using the non-extended color options, you'll want to be in insert mode and add a space so none of your text is overwritten. You must use the same color menu for the file. You cannot successfully mix non-extended and extended color options within a file. Be careful, putting color attributes before the input attribute on the same line causes misinterpretation of the input attribute. That's why I added the lines before the user ID and password fields. Let's add color to both of these blank lines. Then I'm going to add another color attribute to the end of the password line. This will affect the command line. Press PF3 to go back to the main menu and press PF11 to test out your change. You can see all the color changes I made, and both the color and input attributes have disappeared. If you're unable to see the changes, make sure your file is no more than 6 lines long and 80 characters wide. If you see the input attributes in the display screen, go back and redo those attributes. Sometimes moving things around can cause attributes to be misinterpreted. If you see some of your text has wrapped, that's not a problem. It should show up in the right way when you deploy the new logo config. Press enter. If there's a command you like to issue often, say log on a user by another user, you can use the command field to hard code the command. I'm going to add another command line on the last line. Write your input text for the hard-coded command field. Press PF4 to go to the input menu and PF5 to add the command field. Press PF3 to go back to the main menu, then PF11 to display the new field. If it doesn't work, make sure your file is no longer than 6 lines and 80 characters wide. If you see the input attributes in the display screen, go back and reinsert those attributes. Press enter and file your update. Verify the output file information. You can change the name type mode if you choose so. Then press enter. Next is to hard code the logon by command. You can set up the pretext in the command line we just added, but this must happen after Draw Logo has done its post-processing on the formatting attributes. Let's edit the file. By counting very carefully for spaces and for user input, you can use the command area as operands to the hard-coded command. Make sure you account for spaces so the text isn't concatenated. If you ever change this file again with Draw Logo, you will have to rewrite the hard-coded command. File your update. Now release the VM link. Then make the files available to CP with the CP access command. Then issue CP refresh to deploy our new logo. In another 3270 session, undial if you need to, and then dial your first level user ID. You can now see the new input area. To see the logon by command in action, enter the user ID and the by user and press enter. And there you have it. Let's log off so we can continue and issue CP release back in our other session if you want to continue customizing. Let's customize the logo area. First, VM link to your parm disk if you haven't already. Then enter xedit logo config to find the choose logo statement. Currently, the CP default is in use since the statement is commented out. I'll uncomment the statement and you can input a file name and file type to use for the logo area. You can specify a file that already exists or you can create a new one, but it must reside on the parm disk. There are many different logo area options to specify on this statement, but we'll go with the default option for this video. In this case, I'll use a file I already have called TARDIS logo, which contains the ASCII art for the logo picture. File your changes, and then I'm going to copy my TARDIS file from my A disk to my parm disk. Enter draw logo TARDIS logo R. If you're creating a new file, press F5 to specify it's a logo body file. Otherwise, the exec should be able to understand the file, but if you notice it gets wrong, press F5 then F9 to select the correct type. In general, this file can be 78 characters wide and the length depends on the screen size. So take your screen size length in rows and subtract 8 to account for the rest of the login screen areas. For example, my screen is 32 lines long, -1 for the online message area, 6 for the input area, and then another 1 for the status area. That means my logo picture can be up to 24 lines long. Let's add some color using the extended color menu. In this case, it's somewhat easier to use the extended color attributes. Since the base attributes take up space on the screen, it's easy to distort the logo picture. Whichever you choose, make sure you use only that color menu to add color to this file. Let's add some color now. Once you're done, press F3 to go back to the main menu and F11 to display. Looks pretty cool, but we can do better. Press F6 to go to the extended highlight menu. Since these are extended attributes, you will not need to make space for the attributes, and they will not occupy any space on the screen. I'm going to add blinking to the light at the top of the police box. Don't forget to end that formatting character with the normal formatter so that the entire picture doesn't blink. Now press F11 to display your work. And there you go, our blinking light. Press enter, then file your update. Verify this information. You can change the file name, file type, or file mode if you so choose, and then press enter. Now release the VM link and make the files available to CP. Finally, refresh your logo. Now, on another 3270 session, undial if you need to, and then dial your first level user ID. You can now see your new screen. Keep your parmdisk CP access when you're all done editing to keep your new logo live. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. Have a suggestion for another video topic? Feel free to leave a comment below.